This is not simply another four-year election. This is a crossroads in the history of our civilization. This is a struggle for the survival of our nation, believe me. And this will be our last chance to save it. To be lied about, to be slandered, to be smeared so publicly, and before your family that you love is very painful.
What's unfair is that you show Molly Forbes. She actually reminds me a little bit of my mother, if you want to know the truth. She looks like a lovely woman.
Makes it even more poignant in a way, because he says that you remind him of his mother.
Well, he hadn't been very good to her then. These are gorgeous, aren't they? They're lovely. They drink a lot of water. He promises the world, but never happens. Never trust Trump. Everybody needs water. Every living thing needs water.
How many floors up from here is your office, Mr. Trump?
I'm about 10, and then I live about 68 floors up.
Oh, really? Yes, 68.
Which is quite a view, but
Wow. Yeah.
quite a view. How's everything in Scotland?
Well, we've actually no water at all. There's no water going into the well now. All because of Trump.
She's 91-year-old, huh? But he wouldn't care about that, because all he cares about is Trump's.
Does this bother you, Anthony, that it sticks out so far? You know, normally it's even with the you don't even see it.
You could just swap my mic around with Mr. Trump's, because that's got a different clip on it.
Is that a different holder?
Yeah.
It's okay, that's too. It's the worst clip I've ever seen. Don. Hey, Don. Would you go to my desk and bring the clips down? I want to show Anthony. Yes. They're right on my desk. Or maybe, do you have clips for me? The ones you gave me, do you have a set? Or do you want to get them off my desk? Okay, just go. I have some good clips for you.
Oh, really?
That I think you'll like.
Oh, wow. Are they gold embossed?
Well, I've gotten tremendous accolades for that course. You know, it's been a great hit.
Yeah, well, we look forward to talking about it. What do you think of Donald Trump running as a presidential candidate?
I pity America if he's president. There was a big sand hill. I saw it from the front. And hand gliders, they used to run a wee bit and sort of hand glide down, you know, off the top of it. Because it was a huge sand hill. And it's flat now.
The little people, their voices were heard, and we had to address all of those things at great expense.
Literally all gone, and I see right to the harbour now, where all the dunes have gone. There's quite a gap.
So I think it's ridiculous.
Might as well make it look good, man. Should I button or not button? I think buttons. Button better? Yeah.
Well, I hope it doesn't happen, for America's sake, and for the world.
Is this your primary camera for me? This one?
Yeah.
Okay. And I do it in honor of my mother. My mother was a great Scot. She was a very proud Scot. She was born in the Hebrides, and she was a tremendous woman, and she loved Scotland in Stornoway. She loved Scotland, and I think she'd be very proud of what I've done.
That just shows you If he said, I remind him of his mother.
And I think she'd be very proud of what I'm doing.
He doesn't care for anything or anybody but himself. He is a child never grown up. We about 5 years, just buying bottled water, all because of Trump building the road over the spring.
Spectacular for me yesterday to be able to walk the final version of the course with my father, to say this is what will be etched into this land forever.
I suppose we've always been close. I was close to my father as well. We had a big family, you know, 7 of us. That's Lorna, that's me, that's Noreen, that's Sylvia, that's Evelyn, Walter and Shireen. She's the youngest. He's the oldest. That's my mother, well, she stays across here, and that's it.
I had a phone call a short time ago from Molly Forbes to say that their water supply isn't working again. So I'm just going to investigate and to find out what exactly the situation is. Hi, Molly. Is this the... You're having to take water?
Yes,
So what's happened?
that's from the bottom. Well, I've my grandson just now. This is the flush toilet.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. 3 years after Trump's workers cut off Molly's water supply, she was still collecting water from a nearby stream.
I used to go to the barn with a paint pot tied with a bit of rope and fill it and then wheel up the barrow with the well going dry, all because of Trump.
It's a fundamental thing, water. And when you don't have it, it has a knock-on effect psychologically, physically, on your well-being. It's bound to.
Molly explained to me she relied on bottled drinking water when the well went dry, which was often.
I depend on my son and my relations to give me water. Through in this room. See, there's 4, just for handiness, you know.
We'd never no problem with the water till Trump came in to go. It tested and it was 100% pure water.
Have a wash in a basin instead of having a shower, and you think, oh gosh, wish I could have a shower.
Probably the cleanest person I ever knew was my mother. Everything had to be immaculate. Donald, your room is messy. I want it cleaned up immediately. And I look at his place and it's a pigsty. Do I regret that? No, I don't regret it. It's a pigsty. And I think the people of Aberdeen should be embarrassed. And I think, frankly, the people of Scotland would be embarrassed.
The spring Michael and Molly Forbes rely on for their water is on Donald Trump's land. Trump's workers broke the pipe connecting the spring to the Forbes' well when building an access road to the new Trump golf course. At the time, Trump's man in charge said he would fix the pipe and
it'll be the best system he's ever had for supplying water to his house. How's that?
But the Forbes say in the years that followed, the water either ran dry completely or was contaminated. Andy Whiteman is a member of the Scottish Parliament and Scotland's leading expert on land rights.
There's well-established legal framework in Scotland, if the water comes from a source that's on somebody else's land, that other landowner is under a legal obligation and duty to maintain that water supply. That goes back literally hundreds of years.
Oh, give me a golf club, Don. A golf club. Bring a golf club, a driver. Get the two pipers over.
The trouble with Mr. Trump is he seems to have no respect not only for Molly Forbes and his neighbours, but he has no respect for the legal framework. And he's quite content to preside over a situation whereby he is, in effect, denying a neighbouring landowner of their legitimate supply of fresh water.
We're getting harassment for him.
Now, most people, most ordinary people, are not in a position to be able to take on an American billionaire.
All these disturbances about the water and lack of water has an effect on Molly. She gets bronchitis.
That's why I'm so slow, because I just lost all my fusion, lost all my strength.
It's great to be at Trump Tower. It's great to be in a wonderful city, New York. I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
This has probably been the most controversial development in Scotland in recent years. Mr. Trump's falling out with
I put out the radio because I feel that it keeps the fox away. I like it to be talking all the time.
The American dream is dead. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very
You can't imagine your mother as being a young girl, you know? It's hard to get into your head, you know? Because when you see her as a young girl, you think, God. Yeah, she was a good-looking lassie at that time, yeah.
It was an image of my father. I had the same teeth as him. I had two big teeth in the front. They're gone now. He was a great singer, and he played the fiddle. He was really musical.
Oh, Molly.
Okay. So I think I was about 15.
This picture. Do you remember when you told me when you were a dairy woman working with the cows?
Right.
Was you about that age then?
Well, it was July the year after I was married. I worked as a lawn girl during the war, or the Second World War.
The war has taken most of the younger men away from Scotland's farms, leaving the farmers without enough help to produce our vital food supplies. Women left jobs which were not essential.
I was a dairy cattle woman. I had 30 dairy cows.
And in joining the Scottish Women's Land Army, they have played a great part in helping to make sure of 5 war harvests.
They were very good milkers.
The care of animals, particularly for the production of milk, the nation's most vital food, is an all-important job.
I think it's how you treat animals, that they are happy animals.
It's hard to look at something as a commodity, but if it doesn't have any value, say elephants in Africa, they end up destroying people's crops. We've had the conversation
I
before.
personally hate trophy hunters.
Why an elephant?
Listen, it's one of those things.
There was that article in the paper with the big game hunting and a picture, I think it was Donald Trump Jr., with the elephant's tail.
It's one of those things. It's a 200-year-old tradition back from the old ivory hunters. It meant possession of the ivories. I do a lot of local hunting. I donate a lot of that food to, hunters feeding the homeless. I'll take a couple of good cuts that I like.
Grab a little breakfast or something, and then we'll go up in 10 minutes. Sound okay? Okay, good. Good. How have you been?
Yeah, fine. Will there be an opportunity to ask questions later, Mr. Trump?
Yeah, absolutely.
As we're walking around?
Sure.
Great.
We'll do that.
When I made my first film on the environmental damage caused by Donald Trump's luxury golf course in Scotland, none of the Trumps would speak to me.
Real journalists. I want real journalists.
They violate the original planning permissions, according to some of the experts.
You've had your question.
But when my film was shown on television, that suddenly changed.
Your documentary got carried by BBC and others, so you've become a much more important person in terms of doing an interview.
Going on a hiking trip.
Word was also passed down to Donald Jr., and I took the first opportunity to ask him about his hunting trips.
Hunters are conservationists at heart as well, and they're the guys that are actually stroking checks.
And he told me they cost him a lot of shoes.
We're the game rangers and the people who protect it. We always donate shoes and boots and everything like that to allow that, because these are parts of the world where, as sad as it sounds, owning one shoe is a luxury. Two is almost unheard of.
All thanks and honor to the land girls
I used to sing to them.
who are doing this magnificent job.
Kept them bonny with the brush and comb, teased out their tails, made them lovely.
I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. I tell you that.
He said he would bring lots of jobs to Scotland. I can't see it, because there's very, very few people working here for him. There's one security who runs about all the time, and I don't know, there's very few greenkeepers. Where's all these workers? There's hardly any. It's all lies.
They all seem to be part-time. The clubhouse and that isn't busy, so he hasn't got that many staff. A couple of chefs and maybe 20 or 30 people. Well, that would be about it, I would say.
When this project was kicking off, it was all going to be local jobs, local workers.
Donald Trump promised 6,000 jobs at his golf resort near Aberdeen, Scotland. But fewer than 100 are on the payroll.
It is hoped that
Even the man who allowed Trump to build on the environmentally protected coastline admits the jobs aren't there.
Donald's investments in Aberdeenshire are about 1/10, maybe less than that, of what he originally promised.
He doesn't regard these as lies. He regards these as claims which he wants you to believe in, but they're not true.
It's a strange world, isn't it? Strange old world. Last person ever I'd put in the White House is Mr. Donald Trump.
Donald Trump was promising to make America great again. And I wondered if Americans would still vote for him if they knew how he had shortchanged the people of Scotland.
We need somebody like Donald Trump.
So Donald Trump came to Scotland and he wanted to build this luxury golf course up the Sandys. Molly Forbes, who's now 91 years old, Donald Trump's workers accidentally cut off her water supply when they were building the golf course. And 5 years on, she's still without a proper, reliable, working water supply. She has to fetch the water in this wheelbarrow, take it into these buckets, and then...
Fixed it.
Well, I did have water in the buckets outside for washing up with. So this is bucket water from outside. I use this for washing up and for my wash this morning.
You should have fixed it.
immediately. She shouldn't have to do without anybody.
Trump, I feel, is an entrepreneur, and he gets his hands on a lot of things and a very intelligent man.
And I just have a good wash, you know, like this. Wash myself, have a cloth and soap, and wipe it all off, and then dry myself, and then you give a sponge down, and I have a big basin that I stand in the shower to have a body wash down.
I changed my vote.
To delete her services like that, no. And if he can do it to her, then I'm quite sure he'll do it to a lot of American people.
And this is the man who wants to run your country from that building behind us.
Yeah.
Would you still vote for him?
Probably not, no.
They cut it off accidentally.
Wow, there's no accident. You either do it or you didn't do it. If it was cut off accidentally, why didn't they go back and reestablish it for her? No, I can't go with that. It was something intentional because of the fact that she didn't want to sell him the land, so this is his way of getting even with her.
I wanted to get some answers from Donald Trump himself. He was about to hold one of his first big rallies in his campaign to be president in the state of Michigan.
Now, Mr. Trump is in Birch Run addressing a sold-out crowd in just under an hour now.
When I say stop, you say Trump! Stop! Trump! Stop! Trump!
He doesn't speak to women or people of color or anyone unless you're a rich white male who's a Republican.
Not all Mexicans are rapists.
Yeah, because... Yeah.
And we're not all thieves, we're hard workers.
I've been to Donald Trump's hotel in Atlantic City. Look at all the help. It's all minorities. There was nobody speaking English there.
John McCain is not a war hero. He's a war hero. He's a war hero. 5.5 years. He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay?
I think that's offensive to all veterans.
Like when you look at all the people who are here protesting it, like that's what America looks like. America doesn't look like the people who are in there paying money to go see Donald Trump speak.
Some coming from as far away as Grand Rapids, West Michigan, or even the Metro Detroit area to get just a glimpse of Donald Trump.
What about the media attention? Is there a lot of national reporters?
The jazz will pan over here. More than 100 media people who checked in here.
At this early stage of the campaign, even Trump seemed surprised he was running.
So now let's say it's President Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, President of the United States, Donald J. Trump!
But the crowd were swept up by his promises.
We're going to bring our jobs back. We're going to bring our money back. We're going to save Social Security. You are going to love President Trump. Thank you very much.
There was no chance to question the candidate here, but his supporters were only too happy to sing his praises.
I thought he did great. I'm a Democrat, actually. I've never voted for a Republican in my life, but I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. He's going to make America great again. You know, he says the things that we all want to say. He doesn't care about political correctness. He doesn't care about other countries. He cares about the United States. We need to all care about the United States. Trump for president, 2016.
He still hasn't put the water on for a 90-year-old woman in Scotland.
If he's going to make my country great again, maybe the water shouldn't be turned back on for her.
There's a filmmaker from Scotland who has been doing documentaries about Donald Trump.
As the Trump rally draws to a close, Naira Sharif tells me about another water crisis unfolding nearby, in the city of Flint.
Their water is discolored, or it may smell like rotten eggs, or sewage.
You kept telling us that we could drink this water.
So I make the short 20-mile journey from Birch Run to Flint, where I find that anger is boiling over.
I say to you, if you want to be the next president of the United States of America, you better bring your behind to Flint.
And we're here to see if we need any water. We're coming in here to make sure that people have water.
As the Flint crisis deepens, furious residents protest against the poisoning of their water supply, and politicians of all kinds descend on the city.
To help the people of Flint.
We need to rebuild our
our water system.
With the exception of one.
Donald Trump, he's been missing in action. He hasn't lifted one finger for the people of Flint. And if he's really as rich as he says he is, he'd pull out his checkbook and write a personal check for $10 million to help the families of Flint recover.
You know, I shouldn't be commenting on Flint. I mean, I know the governor's got a very difficult time going.
Governor Snyder, could I just ask you, please, you insist that the water here in Flint is safe to drink, to bathe and shower in, yet independent scientists are saying exactly the opposite. I wonder why the people of Flint should trust you.
We've got a lot of information that filtered water has been determined to be safe for people to drink, except for children through 6 and for pregnant women.
Politicians getting richer. The baby's getting sicker. Hair loss, skin rashes, anemia, brain damage, not to mention Legionnaires, brings me to tears. Are the victims with the symptoms that won't appear 2 years from now.
You know, I shouldn't be commenting on Flint.
Back in Scotland, Donald Trump wasn't interested in Molly's water crisis either.
Well, we've actually no water at all. There's no water going into the well now.
He's behaved despicably towards Molly. He's behaved extremely badly towards other neighbours, and it's shameful and unforgivable.
When I've no water, I've no heating. I'd no heating 2 days. It got cooler and cooler until it was cold in the bottom. So I just depend on my electric heaters, and it's not the same as the radiators.
Earlier, I'd been to see the management of Trump's Scottish golf course in a bid to finally understand why Molly Forbes was still without water. Donald Trump Jr. admitted his workers were responsible for shutting her water off.
We think it was because one of the trucks, the pipe goes a long way, it rolls over.
My clay pipe was knocked. It's a very serious thing if somebody's water is not working. We take that seriously.
We told them this is what we intend on doing. This is what we intend on building. It's not going to be easy to live here.
They knew this was going to happen.
And we also offered them lifetime use of the facilities.
When you discover they've been without water, Mr. Trump Jr., that is down to basic human rights.
We did what we could to get that restored as quickly as possible.
I knew for a fact that just wasn't true.
Nothing dry. I'm running out of clothes, clean clothes. Where dishes is piling up. You need water.
When the Forbes' water supply was first cut off, I went to speak to the man in charge of the Trump building work at the time to find out when it would be restored. He acknowledged nothing much was happening.
There's somebody working there now?
No, not now at the moment.
Well, why not?
Because we have to investigate it first, so I can't tell you when exactly his water will be back on. You keep mentioning a week. Is that just a term of phrase?
Well, he's been without it for a week, so I'm just wondering, does he have to wait another week for it?
I don't know.
There's the police now.
A few minutes later, the police were called.
Who called the police?
We did.
You've
been detained under Section 14 of criminal.
My producer and I were both thrown in jail, simply for asking questions about why the Forbes' water supply had been cut off.
What's he done? The police obviously had a good reason for doing to you what they did.
Donald Trump was the only one who thought so.
Say that to me!
After a public outcry, the charge was thrown out, and the police issued a full apology.
Breach of the peace, I think Trump's created that here. That's disgraceful.
Look, will you stop doing that to me?
But the Forbes' water supply remained a mess.
Well, the water was very bad this year.
Because this has been going on for so long, I wonder whether you've complained to the Trump organization about this.
Yes. Well, I never went personally because, well, I'm not really able to get about very much.
Well, if the well runs dry, that's it with nothing.
But Sheila, my daughter-in-law, has been a few times.
Once I went up and I was told to get out of our office.
We are known for luxury, not taking shortcuts. Why would our known opponent think she knows better about construction than drainage than our engineers and our development team?
I said, I'll get out when I get an answer from you. And until then, I'm staying put.
This is why I don't answer their letters, because they're just nasty all the time.
It wasn't sort of a welcome that I would have expected. We didn't have an opportunity to say hello.
I wasn't quite sure what kind of welcome Trump Jr. expected Michael Forbes to give him, considering the comments made by Trump Sr.
I look at Mr. Forbes and his disgusting conditions in which he lives, and that people have to look at that.
I mean,
He's got rusty machinery there. You know, if I were him, I would have been embarrassed, but, you know, that's neither here nor there.
This is where it was. That's the marks that his back wheels was. The front wheels was here. And they were standing up there, pointing down to it. If that ever runs again, I'll give him the place. That's what he said.
If you can get that operational, I'll give you the golf course.
I'd love to see his face when you tell him.
With the Forbes' water supply still running dry, and Donald Trump Jr. denying there was even a problem, I decided to try again to catch up with his father.
Donald Trump is addressing a big rally here in Norfolk tomorrow.
And Mr. Trump had chosen an appropriate backdrop for his message.
So Jeff, explain to me why you've come to this event today.
Support Donald Trump and his quest to become president of the United States. I think he's different from the others, not as politically motivated. I think he's more interested in running the country like a business.
I think he's telling the American people what they want to hear.
Oh, getting ready for the Trumpster.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to make America great again. Please welcome the next president of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
You just think, oh, I think I'll go to church today. It's a feeling.
Too often we prefer to take up the tools of war or fire off volleys of angry words.
This is wonderful. Oh, I see. I'm supposed to be catering to the press. The hell with the press. The hell.
You meet a lot of people that you know, but you don't see a lot of.
I'm going to build a wall, okay? Gonna build it.
You fancy a wall around America to keep out the immigrants, and just one door to let the good ones in. I don't know what kind of mind he's got. When I married Watty, well, actually when we were seeing each other, his brother was lost.
The men and the boys of this parish, whose names are recorded here on this monument, because they felt a sense of duty. George Dallas Forbes, Tom Eddy, Duncan.
These are the largest guns ever made in the United States, and we love the Second Amendment, right? Right? Oh, they are big.
I don't like thinking of war, really. There's too much of it, isn't there, in this day and age.
Potterton, Alec Cooper, Bill Helvig, William Gordon.
We are going to build our military so big and so strong and so powerful that if I'm elected president, we're going to have so many victories, they're going to be coming out of your ears. You remember that?
Mr. Trump, I was just wondering if I could ask you a question about Molly Forbes.
I did not give you permission to come back here. You're supposed to be all the way back here.
This lady,
I need you to go all the way back
this
here.
lady hasn't had any water in Scotland.
Which outlet are you in?
Mr. Trump, Molly is without any water at all this weekend, in fact. That's 5 years after your workers cut off her supply.
I put up a flag as I was asked by Tripping Up Trump to put up a flag.
Is that bit done?
I says, yeah, I'll let you go for that. And anything that pisses off Trump, I love. Yeah, that's why I did it.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
That's why I decided that we should get up a flag as well, because he called them rapists and some terrible things. But yet he probably has them working for him.
He's supposed to be coming in tomorrow, so we're going down to Val in order to assist Val put up a Mexican flag on the fence. Just passing Trump's entryway. Move it your way a wee fraction.
He's going to get a shock when he comes in the front gates and sees the huge Mexican flag at the entrance. He's not going to like that. I would love to be a bird in the tree then and see his reaction.
That'll do.
If Donald Trump comes out to the driving range today, he's going to see that not all of his Scottish neighbors love him. That neighbor right there flying a Mexican flag in defiance of the wall that Trump wants to build.
Yeah, we put the flag up last night. He's threatened to wall in the Mexicans. Well, he's walled us in, as you can see from this banks of earth round about us. So it's a bit of solidarity with the Mexicans more than anything else.
Here's a definite thing about walls. I mean, I don't want to see the houses, I remember him saying.
I don't want to see the houses. Nobody has a problem with it. I guess maybe the people that live in the houses have. I would build a great wall, and nobody builds walls better than me, believe me.
Where the hell could you go now?
How are you going to make them pay for the wall?
I will, and the wall just got 10 feet taller.
I was born in Brooklyn and lived in New York for most of my life. And I came to Scotland particularly because of the beauty and the nature here. It's irreplaceable. The sound dune system that's getting destroyed. Then I met the people. I met Sheila, I met Michael.
Are you coming out?
But what a lovely day, it's almost a shame to come in. And I heard their stories firsthand.
And within 2 days the water was black and he couldn't understand why the water was getting black.
The water was 100% perfect before he came here, till he started digging up everywhere.
I realized this is something that goes against basic human rights, and it's going on right on my doorstep.
This is really a circle of our friends. This was really a celebration of our friends, a celebration of people that supported us.
One of the Trump stories Suzanne broke was a secret conflict of interest at the two main newspapers in Aberdeen. So supportive of Donald Trump, they even gave him his own column. Unknown to readers, however, the editor was secretly engaged to the spokesperson for Trump's golf course.
You've had your quest. The point is, you can't have a newspaper running glowing pieces singing the praises of Donald Trump without telling the people who are buying your newspaper.
Maybe just we'll say a few words here. Let's talk here.
That your wife gets money from Donald Trump. If this isn't a clear conflict of interest, I really don't know what is.
Where you could just go slightly this way. That's good. Perfect. That's good. Just like that.
Impact segment tonight banning Donald Trump. Early next week, Parliament will actually debate a measure that would bar Mr. Trump from entering Great Britain.
Then Kelly started a campaign that caught the world's attention.
And on the phone from Aberdeen, Scotland, Suzanne Kelly, who began the petition. So the comments are not there by Trump to promote hate. It's his policy that he's trying to get out. Do you understand that?
I'd like you to understand some of his other comments. He said that the relatives of anybody involved in terrorism should be taken out. I assume he's not talking about dinner and a show.
I'm thinking, here's Donald Trump. He's walking around, he's slandering every nationality, every racial group there is. And then, when I saw Donald Trump physically mocking a disabled New York Times reporter.
You got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
That was the catalyst for me, and I decided I'm not having any more of this.
The question is what he has been saying classified as hate speech?
More than 200,000 Brits now want the man himself banned from the UK.
I thought maybe 10,000 people at most, if I worked really hard, would sign it.
All because Over 500,000 people signed this petition.
It was at the time the fastest growing petition ever.
Later today, the tables will be turned when MPs will have their say.
Well, there was this petition, basically, which gathered a huge amount of momentum.
This ridiculous individual, and that is Mr. Trump, may be elected. May be elected as President of the United States.
His policy to close borders, if he is elected as President, is bonkers.
In the end, the petition wasn't passed, and Donald Trump was allowed back into Britain for his golf course photo op. The neighbours weren't invited.
It's a bit over the top. 2 security guys at the gate there. I suppose I'll be by invitation only, everybody that's there. I don't think any outsiders will be allowed.
I drive into the same spot I was arrested over 5 years ago.
You've been detained under Section 14 of criminal procedure.
The police has taken their side ever since all this came in a go. But now, they're never away from the place. Of course, the taxpayers paying for that, not Trump.
No longer in Donald Trump's good books, I wasn't invited either.
What I was asking officers, is it okay if I go and speak to Scotland?
Just clarifying.
I was told you're not supposed to be here, you know that.
But I'm filming.
You're not on the list. You're not invited here, that's all.
No, we're
You're not on the list.
What we're talking about here again is the police standing up to protect the interests of private business and individuals.
6 plus a sniffer dog. And I just wonder who's paying the overtime for them.
What is the reason for having this line here?
So that we don't go over the hill to the clubhouse, so that we can't go and make our presence known to the vast amount of media who are there to welcome Donald Trump to Scotland.
The residents here have shown tremendous courage in the way they've stood up to Trump's bullying and, frankly, abusive behaviour to them. The house down there, which is proudly flying a Mexican flag today.
Press wants to talk to me, the radio wants to talk to me, but I stopped doing that because it just keeps him in the limelight, you know.
Just not really interested. I don't pay any attention now.
As Donald Trump arrives, he claims victory over both his Republican rivals and his Scottish neighbours.
Most neighbors love us. I have 1 or 2 that are a little contentious, which is fine because they lost. It's like some of the people I beat in the primaries, they're not exactly in love with me. Well, I have 1 or 2 neighbors that we beat and they're not exactly in love with me.
Oh dear, I don't want to be bothered.
Trump is going to win, and the world is going to be a happy place again, okay?
Humpty Dumpty. I see somebody with a Humpty Dumpty sign. There's a protest with the Mexican flags. And I went in to have a look. I was told that I didn't get down because I was too nosy.
Since my arrest, the Trump Organization has continued to use the police to target those they consider enemies. During the presidential campaign, the tactic reaches ludicrous new heights.
I have never done a deliberate criminal act in my life.
Rowan Betts is a retired social worker who lives in a lighthouse not far from the Trump golf course.
I just feel it's so important that we look after our natural heritage. I do my best to voluntary work to repay the damage that I do to it just by being.
She once took part in a march in support of the Forbes family. Perhaps it was that which put her on the Trump radar.
I don't even have so much of a speeding ticket.
Until now, apparently.
I'd looked at the clock and it was 10 o'clock. I opened the door and there were 2 policemen standing there. My first thought was they'd lost their way. I didn't think for 1 minute they were coming to see me. I mean, I just panicked. I thought something had happened to one of my children, and I still have that. I can still remember me standing at the door feeling that way, and I just started to shake and say to them, what is it? What is it? What's happened?
I cannot explain why police would turn up late at night and charge her with urinating in sand dunes. I simply cannot explain that.
I was not on the fairway at all. I was within the dune system that's closest to the shoreline. And as we walked back, an estate vehicle came towards us, and out of the passenger side jumped a man with a camera.
It was like they were being followed, you know, stalked. Unknown to her, she was being filmed.
That's the officers, they're the ones that came at night. They said that they could go straight to charge because they had enough evidence. It just struck me as such a ridiculous thing for the police to be doing at the behest of Trump International.
This was a diesel tank, yes. She's all rotten here, look. And there's usually a lot of parts that could fit other parts, you know, other machines.
Come on, Anthony.
Come on. In the spring, we'll take you to his junkyard.
What crop does he grow?
Not in his house, but you know, off to the side and other parts of his land. He's got rusty machinery there. I'm on farms down in Texas, and these things. This is not an area that he's using for scrap to fix up another tractor.
It's just in this shed here. This is a bonnet for it. Once I've finished repairing it. This is an old tractor that's been there for 35 years. The Trump said that he would give me the place if it ever runs again.
If you can get that operational, I'll give you the golf course.
You have to hunt about and get other parts, you know. Like the steering wheel I bought out of eBay. This front dash panel my son got for me. The lift arm, this one here I found behind the road, the leveling screw, I still need it to finish her off there. But apart from that, she runs, she goes. So, Mr. Trump, what do you say to that? Not bad for a tractor that's sat for 35 years and never turned a wheel, eh? I used to do up a lot of tractors way back when I was younger, and I kind of lost interest until Trump opened his big mouth again.
Look at Mr. Forbes and his disgusting conditions in which he lives, and it's about time that somebody spoke out.
If you can get that operational, I'll give you the golf course.
Take it over like a watch, eh?
The idea that someone makes a verbal commitment is in Scots law a contract.
I'll take the place, but not his debts.
How many letters are there, Sheila?
Oh, God, I've no idea.
After getting the tractor back on the road, Michael and his wife Sheila show me some of the thousands of letters he's received from around the world.
Says to the poster, I says, "How do you know it's mine?" And he says, "Of course it's yours."
Well, when your letters started, you thought you were going to get nasty letters, but no.
I did. I really did. No, never had one.
When all this started off here, I got a few letters from America saying never do any dealings with this man because nobody trusts him in America. Now, if that's the type of people it's writing to me, why would people like that vote for somebody they couldn't trust, you know? I just can't get my head around that one.
What the hell is going on?
the Republican National Convention.
You got to pick somebody who's going to be a great president.
To help Michael get his head around it, I suggest he and Sheila go out to the Republican National Convention.
Yes, the first time I've ever been out of Britain.
I was all for it because I thought, well, he doesn't go anywhere, you know. He just, works at home, which he enjoys. But I thought it's a nice break for you, a nice change.
This is the kilt that my niece made for me. Lorena Burns is her name. So it's Forbes tartan, the pattern, what they call muted. They tell me there's about 57 different types of Forbes tartan. It'll be only the second time worn when we go over to Ohio.
Are you parked?
Half parked.
You're half parked.
The other concern that police have are that people are going to come here carrying their guns.
Oh, that's a nice one. I like this.
Oh, it looks fine, his kilt. That's 3 kilts he has now.
Just a job.
For months, the focus of law enforcement here has been on the prospects of organized protest.
Black Lives Matter!
Anti-Trumpers trying to disrupt this convention, and Trump supporters exhibiting some of the rough edges that they have at rallies.
I've sent myself. What a long bloody flight this is. We made it. We made it.
Morning. It's Tuesday, July 19th. We're live again from Cleveland at the site of the Republican National Convention, along with Joe.
So I know this is your first time in Cleveland, and right now you're at our public square. The Terminal Tower was our tallest building, so it's very historical for our city. Cleveland was so excited when it got the RNC, and then as time passed and it was starting to look like Donald Trump was going to be the GOP candidate, things changed fast. I think Cleveland got really scared at the prospect of Donald Trump being the candidate and what that would bring to our city.
Says it all, doesn't it?
I'm here with a gentleman who very much understands firsthand the impacts of Donald Trump becoming our next president.
Lord knows what could happen. He's welcome to run his business however he wants, but he should not be representing any of us.
See, they look after other people here for water, not like Trump back in Scotland, cutting off my water.
Hi, President Obama.
How are you? There was people going about with guns on their back, loaded rifles.
He's allowed to have a gun out like that? That is insane.
I don't think that was right. That should never happen.
So they're like some religious right group, and then these women, I think, are for abortion and trying to counter their protest.
I see Donald Trump lying in the road there.
Donald Trump is a consummate executive, trained through a lifetime of executive decision-making in the School of Hard Knocks. Makes him supremely qualified to become the chief executive of our nation.
How do you feel about his environmental policies?
Right now, I don't think he has an environmental policy.
Brainwashing him, the same as he did in Scotland. That's what he's doing. I've heard it all before. It's the same thing over and over again, how great everything's going to be, you know, because Trump's in charge. And it never happens. Never happens.
Media-driven storyline inside the campaign right now.
That said, it is striking, as you noted, the similarities between Michelle Obama's speech and between Melania Trump's speech.
From a young age, my parents impressed on me.
Barack and I were raised with so many of
the values,
the same values.
that you work hard for what you want in life.
You work hard for what you want in life.
That your word is your bond.
That your word is your bond.
And you do what you say.
That wouldn't surprise me none, like, none at all. Surprised Trump hasn't nicked anybody's speeches.
He's saying it's a storyline that's been put out there by the Clinton campaign.
Sign is right, yeah. The sign's right enough. Well, way back when all this started, I got my first letter from Texas, and that was my favourite. Don't have no dealings with him unless the money is in the bank first. And that's when my eyes opened to Trump.
Aye, that's me like it. Jesus. Haven't seen anybody wearing anything, but there's plenty of stalls.
Mike, this is bloody ridiculous.
Why the hell do they need that? If I was a taxpayer here, I think I'd be asking questions.
Ah, exactly. Better race than one.
Deflate the Donald. So this is Donald Trump before the election. And this is Donald after the election. 10. No, dollars. No. Make laughter in Scotland with it. Oh, Aberdeen. That's near the golf course. Donald.
What a difference between crooked Hillary Clinton and Mike Pence. Mike Pence will never be afraid to speak the name of our enemy, radical Islam.
What I did for New York, Donald Trump will do for America.
The letters that I had had over the years, I would have said that he had no chance, you know, but of course there was a lot of people said that as well.
He landed just a short time ago, roughly about 18 minutes, at Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland. So coming down with his Trump plane, and then he's going to be whisked off from the airport on the Trump helicopter, just moving roughly.
I'm from Oklahoma. I grew up in New York.
Yeah.
And I would be interested in you telling me, what was your experience?
He came to build a golf course.
Yes.
Next door to me. He ruined all the dunes, sand dunes, protected.
Okay.
He ruined them all. Bulldozed them all flat, and then he built his own manicured crap, you know?
Yeah.
I wouldn't sell up, so he put his bullies onto me, all his security people. I got hassled for months and months and months. He ruined my water, and that's my experience with Donald Trump.
I find that, from my knowledge of him, to be unusual, and when I get to see him and speak to him, I'll ask him about that on your behalf, Michael.
That'd be fine, yes.
Because
he'll just tell you lies anyway, because that's all he does is tell lies.
Well, that I don't know. I know that personally, that's not been my experience, and I understand you're telling me that that's your experience. But what I would like to do on your behalf is to find out what happened.
He called me a pig. He called my place a pigsty.
I will find a way to speak to him and see what happened there.
Yeah.
And
I know he'll just tell you lies anyway.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Yeah. I know I'm a seeker of truth.
SMBC Live remaining here on the site of the Republican National Convention. There you have Donald Trump's helicopter. He landed.
Originally, Donald Trump was the last one on my list that I would vote for. However, since he's become the nominee, I've studied up on him.
The next Trump supporter Michael meets is controversial pastor Tom Vineyard from Oklahoma City. His church encourages everyone to own guns.
I preach that God loves everyone.
And is on a hate list for its position on gay rights.
Homosexuals account for half the murders in large cities.
I was in Zaire, I was in Congo, and I was in Ivory Coast. I was in 3 different civil wars. The last 8 years have been terrible for the United States of America.
You think Trump's going to help that?
I think he will.
I think he'll make it work. My experience with Donald Trump was when...
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to Cleveland, the next President of the United States, Mr. Donald J. Trump.
I'm going to need to go.
Yeah, okay.
It's nice meeting you. God bless you. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's a real Trump supporter. I says to him, I says, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel there. That was it.
I've never been aboard a submarine before. I like the sea. My whole family's been to sea.
As delegates scramble to catch a glimpse of their new leader, Michael makes an unexpected discovery an historic Navy vessel that turns out to have a personal meaning.
My middle name's named after my Uncle George. Whenever I saw the submarine, I had to go aboard it because he was on the submarines during the war. It's good, that. I like that. My uncle, he joined the Navy when he was 15, and then he joined the submarine service on the Unbeaten. And he was coming home from a special mission. I went through the Bay of Biscay, and one of our own planes bombed it, and it was lost with all hands.
George Dallas Forbes, Palmetti. George Dallas Forbes, Palmetti.
Cod carries 2 types of torpedoes. The 22-foot, 3,000-pound Mark 14, which can go over 50 miles per hour for over 2 miles. Enemy plane approaching fast. Down scope. Dive.
I was just thinking what the men had to put up with, you know, especially underwater and being depth charged and things like that, and just a wee pipe.
At night when we're surfaced.
My uncle was on board the Unbeaten, you know, in World War II, and they were lost with all hands.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
My uncle was on a minesweeper, and they went down during the Second World War.
Yeah.
My dad's brother, Chris.
Mm-hmm. How many men was aboard?
97.
Yeah.
6 to 10 officers, enlisted men anywhere between 65 to maybe 80, depending on the war patrol.
Good evening. I'm Donald Trump Jr. Thank you. And the son of a great man.
I look at Mr. Forbes and his disgusting conditions in which he lives, and that people have to look at that. Mr. Forbes is not a man that people in Scotland should be proud of.
I've always said to people, whatever comes out of his mouth, reverse it, and that's the truth. Because you can't tell the truth.
Please welcome United States Senator Ted Cruz of Texas.
It was electric in the hall last night.
Stand and speak and vote your conscience. Vote for candidates up and down the ticket who you trust to defend our freedom and to be faithful to the Constitution. I appreciate the enthusiasm of the New York delegation.
Hard for us to judge, because, and not being a farmer. I mean,
It's only a small farm, so just what we call a croft in Scotland. It's about 23 acres.
We live in a suburban area. Many people who've been long-time residents don't necessarily feel safe anymore.
And you think Trump's the man for that job?
Absolutely.
He cut our pipe coming from our spring to our well.
I see.
And that's the man you're voting for, huh? And he didn't care.
Difficult to have neighbors sometimes?
We were 8 years under an administration that is just oppressive.
Yeah.
So you have your problems.
Yeah.
We have ours.
I know.
If we go up to Trump, they get the police on to us. Trump and the police are like that. Always have been. Since Trump came to Scotland.
You're fighting what you consider a big machine there.
Yeah.
We know. We have Hillary Clinton as our opposition. We know what it's like to fight a big machine. And that's not easy. We think that Donald Trump is our answer.
Best of luck with him.
Thank you.
I really don't know much about him on his personal business level and what he does, but I will say this. I think people are just fed up. They're done. And for me as a businessman, I believe it's the private sector that's going to move in and put this country back on track. I want to see our borders sealed once and for all. That's huge for me, too. So I say shut down immigration totally, temporarily, but shut it down totally. Number 2, I want every single individual in this country identified.
Well, I think I feel sorry for this America because of Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. If he is elected, I think it'll be nothing but wars because he can't keep his mouth shut.
He's going to have to change his tone as a leader of the free world, and he is the face of the United States of America.
When he first came to Scotland, it's a bit like America here. Half of Scotland was for Trump, the other half wasn't. But now you'll find that nothing's happened with what he said, so now about 90% of Scotland hates him. I can see the same thing happening here.
very interested to hear what Donald Trump will say.
And everyone is asking, what's he going to do? I mean, what are they going to shoot him out of a cannon? Ivanka, it's going to introduce him, his daughter.
You will be your greatest, your truest, and your most loyal champion.
His daughter will be getting a new house tomorrow.
Yeah. She's talking to all the people of America. We know how you suffer, blah, blah, blah. It's like,
yeah. As if she cares, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
My father not only has the strength and ability necessary to be our next president, but also the kindness and compassion that will enable him to be the leader that this country needs. My father and our next president, Donald J. Trump.
USA, USA.
Friends, delegates,
and fellow Americans, I humbly and gratefully accept your nomination for the presidency of the United States. We will be a country of generosity and warmth.
and millions of new jobs and trillions in new wealth.
I couldn't stand his lies no more. And that's the truth, yeah. God. Never heard so much bullshit in all my life.
I have joined the political arena so that the powerful can no longer beat up on people who cannot defend themselves.
Did you build your house in the middle of the golf course?
No, our house was there long before he ever heard of the place.
Yeah.
Try to do a compulsory purchase on us. You know, that means get the government to buy the house for him. You know, he ruined all the dunes, the sand dunes, and built his golf course. And now he's struggling to get golfers.
Well, so it's just an empty course? People don't come and play?
More or less, yeah.
Because of all the bad press?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm actually starstruck.
Yeah?
I think your story is incredible. No, it's incredible. This is an actual incredible thing. You stood up to him fully. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, ready? Got it. Thank you. Again, you left me hanging 2 times. You did not hug.
Don't do hugs.
Okay, all right. That's a hard no.
But the real challenge that he had tonight was one of imagination. Can people imagine him in the Oval Office? And did that...
Everything that comes out of his mouth is, I'm the greatest. Like Muhammad Ali, you know? That's probably where he got it from. Stole it from, I should say. I'm going to do the greatest thing. I'm going to build the greatest golf course. I'm going to build the greatest God knows what, you know? And everybody thinks this is great. It never happens.
The blood on our bodies represent the unborn lives lost since this crisis began. From poisoned water and the lives that won't be realized because of the damage to our bodies. This area is a crime scene.
Republican nomination in hand, Donald Trump finally makes a belated trip to the water crisis in Flint. But things don't go quite according to plan.
Just don't want to see him here. Hillary Clinton supported NAFTA. Everything she touched didn't work out. Nothing. Now Hillary Clinton.
Mr. Trump, I invited you here to thank us for what we've done in Flint,
Okay.
not to give a political speech.
Okay.
Not once since the beginning of his campaign has Trump addressed the crisis. Now that we are less than 2 months from Election Day, he is coming to our city to attempt to pivot his message, and we won't stand for it.
A short visit and out with a wave. And for the most part, here in Flint, a boo.
Flint, of course, isn't the only place where I find Trump and water just don't mix. After 5 years without a safe and reliable water supply, Michael Forbes decides to take matters into his own hands. This means digging up Trump's access road and risking arrest.
There was 3 of them up there last Saturday, all day, the whole day.
It was really hard digging. The security people sat there watching me do it all the time I was there for 3 days.
What Michael finds contradicts what the Trump Organization had been saying for half a decade.
We did what we could to get that restored as quickly as possible.
It'll be the best system he's ever had for supply of water to his house. How's that? Best system he's ever had for supply of water to his house.
This is the pipe here that I dug up from the well. When I followed it to see where it was blocked, they'd put in this plastic piece here, and then they'd backfilled it with big stones, like 4-inch stones, in there.
Trump's workers had not fully repaired the broken connection between the well and the spring. According to Michael, this left an open pipe that allowed dirty road water to pour into their water supply.
That's what we've been drinking off the road. Oily, sludgy water for 5 years.
It was sludge, like black. What? I don't know what it was. It looked like a sort of oily stuff. Michael cleaned out the tank and he said it was about that of sludge in it. It was filthy water we were drinking.
After digging up the road, Michael installs a new section of pipe, finally connecting the spring to the well for the first time in 5 years. No sooner has the fresh water been turned back on than Michael and Sheila receive a letter from the Trump Organization.
We require to be notified by you as to when and what work will be undertaken on our land.
Well, that's a very intimidating response. So, I mean, that's just another example of the way in which he conducts himself to people who have crossed his path.
One woman who crossed Donald Trump's path was Vera Koking.
Vera Koking was an elderly widow who lived for decades in her home beside Atlantic City's boardwalk.
Her story has an uncanny resemblance to Molly's, but American style.
Donald Trump wanted Vera's home so he could put in limousine parking for his casino across the street.
In Scotland, Trump wanted rid of several houses.
Sarah, I want to get rid of that house.
It's going to create a bit of a stir, but if we're not...
Who cares? Who cares? You know what? Who cares?
He's no time for ordinary people. He's too much concerned about making dollars himself.
He doesn't have no heart, that man. The only thing he has is what he's worried about himself.
And it's important, I think, to remember that they're living not just with the impact of what Trump did to them, but living in the full knowledge that Trump may also be planning things behind their backs.
We dealt with our objectors very harshly, and we will continue to be very strong to anybody that stands in our way.
We're up in North Carolina. We're up in many, many polls nationwide. The Los Angeles Times has us up 6 points. And we're up in...
Poor fellow, he had a wee breakdown.
Iowa, we're up 8 points.
Only 8 weeks before the presidential election, the Forbes receive an alarming letter from the local government.
Surely they wouldn't be so stupid to try again.
It's the new master plan for the area.
It's obvious on the plan there. It's all in red. My place is not marked off, you know? So they must be claiming this is the Trump's place.
It revives memories of the first time Donald Trump tried to force residents out of their homes to build hundreds of millionaire houses.
Donald Trump denied that he had sought compulsory purchase orders over their land. It subsequently transpired that he had made those applications and he'd lied.
Eminent domain is absolutely it's a necessity
feel like we're almost the enemy here with this big gate up and walls around us. I think it's absolutely disgraceful what's happened to us here. I've taken it badly because we've been here 36 years.
My paradise sign, it was all flaked with the sun. So I rubbed it down. I sandpapered it. Very careful to not touch the paradise. I'm not finished with it. I still do rub it down with a very fine sandpaper, really very fine, and then varnish it. So it looks fine now. So he says we're all right now for water. Didn't have any pears last year. I'm quite lucky this year with lovely pears. We really depend on water. Of course, everybody does. You just don't know the amount of water you need when you haven't got it. We're quiet living folk. We're not like him.
That we can drink this water. We need help. We really need help.
Now we come in peace, intent to increase, restoring hope for the hopeless, and love is the focus. I pray that the message will reach far beyond them clouds. God, we need you involved now. Your spirit is needed, so this isn't repeated. Why is it like this? A crisis, a cry with my right fist lifted for my brothers and sisters. These little kids becoming statistics. The Tuskegee experiment, like they did with syphilis. Honestly, I'm questioning if this was intended. What made you go and change the water source that Flint gets? Answer me that, huh? Emergency management. Obvious fact, huh? Your family ain't residents of the city affected by your lack of concern. Inappropriate protocol, cutting your costs. What's the sense of saving money, though, when lives are lost? Now these corrupt cover-ups, hiding the facts. Had the mayor drink a cup and tell us all to relax. Then put that on the news, cause it's legal to lie. To the public and the media, we need a reply. Mr. President, your government is government suffering. Got a governor whose only defense is his accountability.
Officials are urging residents to be patient